Pi Network's App Studio now allows developers to deploy application updates by watching short advertisements instead of paying Pi tokens. Previously, deploying apps required Pi token payment, creating barriers for new users without token balances or pioneers who haven't migrated to mainnet. This change eliminates that barrier entirely. Watch ads, deploy apps, no token expenditure required. The accessibility improvement is undeniable. Developers who couldn't participate because they lacked Pi tokens or hadn't completed migration can now build, test, and improve applications. This expands the potential developer pool significantly, theoretically increasing ecosystem, innovation, and application diversity. But let's examine the economic model underlying this change. Pi explicitly acknowledges that advertising revenue doesn't fully cover actual deployment costs. Server infrastructure, AI processing, network bandwidth, all require real capital expenditure. They're subsidizing the difference, essentially paying developers to build through foregone revenue. Subsidizing developer activity makes strategic sense short-term. Early-stage ecosystems need developers building applications before user bases justify commercial sustainability. Ethereum subsidized early developers through foundation grants. Solana offered hackathon prizes and developer incentives. Pi is subsidizing through ad-supported deployment. But, subsidies create dependency. If developers get used to free deployment just by watching ads, well, shifting to a paid model later on is going to face a lot of resistance. Folks start asking, why should I pay when I previously deployed for free? And that really becomes the community response when Pi eventually needs to recover costs. Pi does mention they might change this feature if costs get out of hand, or if spam and abuse start to show up. That kind of acknowledgement, honestly, shows this isn't a permanent part of the infrastructure. It's more like a temporary subsidy with an uncertain timeline. So, developers building their businesses on Pi App Studio are left wondering if free deployment will stick around, or if they'll suddenly need to pay, which would totally force them to rethink their economic models. Hold up real quick. If this analysis of ad-supported deployment economics is clarifying both the accessibility benefits and sustainability concerns, show some appreciation with that like button. And if you're serious about understanding blockchain infrastructure updates beyond just celebrating new features, subscribe to TJ Crypto World right now. We're examining economic models while everyone else just reports announcements. Alright, let's analyze the no-code payment integration. So, Pi App Studio now allows creators to integrate test Pi payments into their applications without even writing any code. Developers just have to mention Pi payment in their application prompt, and the payment functionality gets automatically integrated. This, honestly, is a radical simplification that removes a lot of the technical barriers that have been preventing non-developers from building payment-enabled applications. The democratization potential here is, well, pretty significant. Normally, integrating blockchain payments means you need to understand smart contracts, wallet connections, transaction signing, error handling, and a whole bunch of security considerations. But Pi's no-code approach just abstracts away all that complexity. So, even users with zero programming knowledge can build apps that accept payments. This totally aligns with Pi's broader accessibility mission. Just like mobile mining removed hardware barriers and ad-supported deployment removed token barriers, no-code payments are now removing technical skill barriers. The pattern is super clear. Eliminate every single obstacle that's preventing mass participation. However, Pi explicitly states these payments only persist during single sessions. Purchases don't remain saved when users exit and return. This is a massive limitation. Honestly, transforming payment integration from functional commerce infrastructure into more of a demonstration feature. Real commerce, requires persistent transaction records. If I buy premium features in an application, those purchases must persist across sessions. Session-based payments mean every time I close and reopen the app, my purchase history just disappears. That's not commerce. That's temporary demo functionality. Pi frames this as preparation for full mainnet payments later, positioning current limitations as stepping stones toward complete functionality. That's reasonable for beta features, but it means current no-code payment integration isn't production-ready commerce infrastructure. It's really educational scaffolding teaching developers concepts before full implementation. So, how does Pi's no-code payment integration stack up against established blockchain development platforms? Well, Ethereum, for example, has tools like Stripe for crypto services, such as Coinbase Commerce and others, which require minimal coding. Solana, on the other hand, offers Pay, enabling payments with pretty simple integration. These solutions actually provide production-ready, persistent commerce infrastructure, not just, session-based demos. Pi's no-code approach is definitely more simplified than competing solutions, but honestly, that simplification comes through feature limitation. It's session-based only, instead of, say, superior architecture. It's easier just because it does less, not because it's better engineered. This App Studio update is launching during a 134 million Pi token unlock, which is actually one of the largest supply events in the network's history. Large unlocks like this typically create downward price pressure as newly liquid holders, take profits, especially when tokens have been locked up for extended periods. Announcing major ecosystem updates during price-negative events is, honestly, classic narrative management. Media attention shifts from, 134 million tokens unlocking, price pressure incoming to Pi launches revolutionary ad-supported development tools. Community discussion pivots from market concerns to ecosystem optimism. This isn't necessarily nefarious. Smart project management definitely includes strategic communication timing, but, it does reveal priorities. If the primary goal were maximum developer adoption, you'd announce when market sentiment is positive and developers are, actively seeking platforms. Announcing during unlock suggests goals include managing community sentiment during challenging conditions. Simultaneously with the App Studio update, Pi launched a creator event offering 5 Pi credits to the first 1,000 pioneers completing surveys about useful applications. These credits are restricted to Pi App Studio usage, can't be sold, only spent on development. This incentive serves multiple purposes. It generates user feedback informing future development, creates engagement during potentially negative price conditions, distributes credits increasing App Studio activity metrics, and provides talking points about ecosystem participation numbers. But 1,000 respondents receiving 5 credits each is 5,000 total credits, trivial compared to 134 million unlocking tokens. The economic impact is negligible. The psychological impact of Pi rewards developers and seeks feedback during unlocks is the actual strategic value. What Pi built correctly. The accessibility improvements are genuine. Ad-supported deployment does lower barriers for developers without token balances. No-code payment integration does simplify blockchain commerce introduction for non-technical users. These features expand potential developer participation, which honestly really matters for ecosystem health. The educational value is legitimate. Even session-based payment demos teach developers blockchain commerce concepts before building production applications. Even ad-subsidized deployment lets creators experiment with application ideas before committing resources. The philosophical positioning around building during market weakness is correct. Projects that only market during bull runs and disappear during bears, they lack conviction. Continued infrastructure development regardless of price demonstrates commitment beyond speculation. What raises sustainability concerns? And subsidized deployment creates economic model questions Pi explicitly acknowledges but hasn't answered. How long does the subsidy continue? What happens when it ends? How do you prevent spam while maintaining accessibility? These unresolved questions create uncertainty for developers building businesses on Pi's platform. Session-based payment limitations mean current no-code integration isn't production-ready commerce infrastructure. It's educational scaffolding. That's fine for beta features but doesn't yet deliver the utility-driven ecosystem Pi claims to be building. Persistent payments are table stakes for real commerce, not nice-to-have features. The strategic timing during 134 million token unlocks suggests priorities around narrative management alongside genuine development. Both can be true simultaneously. Real features launched with strategic timing to manage market sentiment during challenging conditions. Pi's success ultimately depends on whether these tools produce thriving developer ecosystems, generating applications people actually use. Metrics that would validate success: monthly application deployments trending up, daily active users per application growing, transaction volumes increasing, developer retention rates staying high. Without these metrics, we're evaluating features in isolation rather than assessing ecosystem health. Beautiful development tools that nobody uses create no value. Accessible platforms attracting low-quality spam hurt more than help. I evaluate Pi's App Studio updates as directionally correct, with execution concerns requiring monitoring. Lowering developer barriers makes strategic sense for growing ecosystems. Simplifying payment integration aligns with accessibility missions. Building during market weakness demonstrates commitment. But subsidies create sustainability questions. Session-based payments limit commercial viability currently, and strategic announcement timing during unlocks reveals narrative management priorities. These aren't disqualifying concerns. They're dynamics requiring attention as Pi's ecosystem develops. If App Studio updates produce measurable developer ecosystem growth, increasing monthly deployments, rising active user counts, growing transaction volumes, then these tools succeed regardless of sustainability questions or timing strategies. If metrics stagnate despite accessibility improvements, it suggests barriers weren't the binding constraint on developer adoption. Watch for Pi publishing developer ecosystem health metrics. Applications deployed per month, active developers building regularly, users engaging with Pi apps daily, commercial transactions happening despite session limitations. Those numbers validate whether accessibility tools translate to ecosystem vitality. Alright crypto fam, that's the complete breakdown. Pi Network's App Studio transformation with ad-supported deployment, no-code payments, and strategic timing during 134 million token unlocks. Massive respect to everyone who made it to the end. You're evaluating infrastructure updates through both feature quality and strategic context, understanding that announcement timing reveals priorities as much as technical capabilities. Before you go, check out my latest analysis on the next big topic, where I break down some really interesting trends. The community there is sharing development experiences and ecosystem observations, adding real-world perspective beyond just theoretical analysis. Drop your thoughts below. Are you building on Pi App Studio? Do ad-supported deployment and no-code payments lower barriers meaningfully or create sustainability concerns? Does announcing during unlock seem like smart timing or narrative management? What developer metrics would prove this ecosystem is actually growing? I read every comment, and builder perspectives are especially valuable. Until next time, this is TJ, from TJ Crypto World, reminding you. Accessibility improvements matter only if they produce ecosystem growth. No-code tools succeed when they enable creation, not just experimentation. Strategic timing reveals priorities. Demand measurable developer ecosystem metrics, not just feature announcements. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and never confuse tool availability with tool adoption. Peace.